going on here? He's like, I don't know what you guys are all, you're all nuts. I have cancer. This is what it is. And so Bravo started coming in on me saying I was in on a cancer scam. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't scam anybody. I think I'm being scammed.
Welcome to the Narcissist Abuse Recovery Channel.
Padideh, hi, how are you today? It's good to see you again.
Oh my goodness, it's good to see you. I mean, I'm so excited about our second season. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it.
Two. Second season of Narcissist Abuse Recovery Channel. It's great to be here with you.
Yes.
Good.
Now, you've had an awful lot going on there out in LA with the fires and stuff. It's crazy out there.
Yeah, it's really, I'm not in LA, I'm in Orange County. So that's
You're in Orange County, Vicki?
Hour and a half away to 2 hours away, but we're still getting the residual effects from it. I came home last night about 10 o'clock and opened up my side glass door and the pool is black. The entire
wow.
is black. The winds, I guess, were really bad. My umbrella from the top deck was in the pool. Like, it's a mess. So I'm going to be cleaning for
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we definitely got the residual of it. And there was, residual fires starting by arsonists just in our area because the winds were high and they thought, oh, they did it up in LA. Let's get them down here.
Unbelievable.
So it's been bad.
I don't know, Vicki, I don't know whether you know or not, Padideh actually was feet on the ground and was taking out water and supplies to people who were hurting, particularly in the Altadena area. Is that correct? Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah. Vicki, so I have an office in LA and then in Orange County and Newport Beach across from Fashion Island. So nothing happened, obviously, in Orange County about 2 weeks ago, right? It was only in LA. And so I got my team together and we went out there to Altadena. It's very, it's low income area, right? And a lot of them don't have home insurance. So I was going out there and then now, as of 2 or 3 days ago, it was in Talega. So it was actually in Orange County. And it's like, you can't make this stuff up. It's like, I feel like, what is happening? And then today I came to Ola Studios, which is in San Diego, and then they had a fire. So it's like...
Yeah, I saw that.
It's awful. It's just awful. It's heartbreaking. But we just want to welcome you to our show. John and I are very excited to just ask you some questions. I've been following your work for many, many years. I'm very excited to have you on because you're an entrepreneur and a female, obviously, and very strong. And I'm actually an entrepreneur. I had my law firm 22 years ago. And so I feel like we have things in common. We probably know some of the same people. But it's nice to just welcome you to our show.
Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate it. And when I saw the narcissistic abuse recovery, I didn't know there was even a law firm representing the people that got abused. I'm assuming you're doing that.
Yes.
I didn't even know I was in a narcissistic relationship until it ended. And while I was in it, it was very confusing and very destructive to my strength as a woman and a business owner and a mother of two, a grandmother of four. Like, I just thought everybody should just love each other and be kind. So I was open and excited to just hear what this was, what you guys do. So John, what do you do? You're a coach and you're an author.
I am. Yeah, I'm actually, I run a channel called Male Victims of Female Narcissists. And they're a group of men out there who are kind of underrepresented in the narcissistic community. And I dial in really to try and help them through this as well, because they're getting the same kind of abuse from some women too.
Right. Yeah. It's not specific. It's really.
It is not. From my experience, it's really across the board, and narcissists do not show favoritism, unfortunately. No. So tell us about your experience a little bit. I mean, you've got a story here. We'd love to hear.
I sure do. It's actually, I was married 9 years to a gentleman from 21 to 29, and he wasn't a narcissist. He was just lazy and a drunk. So I was like, I had 2 kids with them. I thought, okay, I'm going to divorce him. My parents married 60 years. I never knew divorce. So my father basically said, you have to get divorced, or you're going to raise your kids in a very dysfunctional environment. We come from good stock. I'm from Chicago. Like, people don't get divorced. So I did. I was 29, and I met a man working at at the company I was at, and he was not a narcissist either. I was married to him for 16 years. So it was a loveless relationship. I started filming my TV show, and we just went two separate paths. So I just thought, okay, everybody, gets a second chance in love. And, when I told Don, this just isn't working, we never called each other. I traveled a lot for work. So did he. We were empty. And so I just wanted love. I was thirsty for love. And I was at an insurance conference, and this good-looking man, Brooks, came up to me and asked me what I wanted for a cocktail. I'm like, no, I'm not drinking tonight. He's like, ma'am, what would you like for a cocktail, with this Mississippi accent? And I'm like, who are you and where'd you come from? He was 5 years younger than me, lived in Tupelo, Mississippi. I'm from Orange County, California, just in my second year of a TV show. And remember, I just wanted to find love, somebody that just would love me. And he showered me with love and prayers, and anything I really was dreaming of having in another relationship, he was showing me. So I moved him to California, bought him all new clothes because he came up in Crocs and Dockers. I'm like, okay, you're not going to fit in. We have to go shopping. So went to Fashion Island, went to South Coast Plaza. I got him a whole new wardrobe, really great leather jackets, really great Gucci shoes, Ferragamo. I just decked him out with the belts that match. And, he was like, oh, this is great. And then he got super controlling and super weird, and he drank a lot and then got angry. And I held on for 5 years because I just thought, okay,
Wow.
if I can keep grooming him and tweaking him, we're going to be fine. And the people on my show did not like him at all. They said, he's using you. And I just thought, whether it's a man or a woman, we can support the other person. Like, it's typically in California, the women don't work, and Padideh, we're the minority.
Yes.
And I just thought, what's the difference? I'm going to support him. I moved him out here, and I'm going to just accept his love. It's all I wanted was love, 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 love. So when time went through the relationship, 3-4 years later, the girls kept saying, he's just something creepy about him. We don't trust him, blah, blah, blah. He then tells me he has cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 3. And I'm like, where'd this come from? He goes, well, I had it in my 30s and I'm 50 now, and it came back. I'm like, how'd you know? And where'd you go? And he goes, I do regular blood work. So I was hook, line, and sinker believing this man had cancer. And I would take him up to City of Hope. Little did I know he was sitting in the garden, and then he'd come out with a Band-Aid on. I'm like, what'd they do, draw blood? He's like, no, I had chemo. Well, my daughter's a nurse. So I called Brianna. I said, something's not right. I just drove an hour up to, past Azusa to pick him up, but he's been there all day. He comes out with a Band-Aid on his arm. And she goes, Mom, chemo's administered through a port. Did he get a port put in? I'm like, no, they checked his chest. There's no port. And I asked him about it. He's like, what are you accusing me of lying? And I'm like, I just don't know what's going on. I mean, I'm paying for everything. I love on you, and I don't know what's going on. He's like, Vicki, you're hanging too much around the girls. They're all, out to get me. And I got super defensive on him. I was like, there's no way these girls are going to ruin his life. He's trying to create a new business here. He was in the insurance business like me. That's why I met him at a conference. And he's like, what do you want me to do? Show my medical records? I'm like, you might have to. And then the girls,
good for you.
They took it as the truth, and they started asking him for the medical records. And he's like, Vicki, by the way, I'm not sharing my medical records with anybody, not even you. I'm like, but if you have cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, you would be showing me at least. He goes, you're going to take that information and misconstrue it, because that's what you do, and you twist things, and it's going to come out different than what the truth is. I said, then just show him your medical records. So I didn't understand it. I've had lots of health issues, and I don't think anybody's privileged to my medical records except my doctor. So I was believing that that was the right thing to support him on, not showing medical records. And then it got deeper and deeper and deeper. And he then created a document from Hoag Hospital or City of Hope, one of the two that he said he was being treated at, on their letterhead. So what he did is he went to the internet, took a letterhead logo, took a logo and created his own letterhead, then went to Google and created the treatment plan he was getting for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Wow.
And put it in that letter. So he shows it to me, he shows it to the cast members, and they took a snapshot of it and started Googling the letterhead, and it was nowhere near the position of the logo. And the protocol for the cocktail what he was taking was exactly off the internet, word for word.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Like, what is going on here? He's like, I don't know what you guys are all, you're all nuts. I have cancer. This is what it is. And so Bravo started coming in on me saying I was in on a cancer scam. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't scam anybody. I think I'm being scammed. I do. I really do. So the way that they edited it, it made it look like I was covering for something he was doing. And I was covering because I didn't think the girls were entitled to any of his medical records. But I went down a rabbit hole and I couldn't get out of it. So in the middle of the night, he got up and left in his car and blocked me on everything. And I never talked to him since. So that was a tough recovery for me. I felt like I was going to throw up and die. Like my
Wow.
father was deceased from Alzheimer's, and my family lives in Illinois, and I didn't have any family out here, and I felt like the girls were all ganging up on me, and it was a dark space. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna get some therapy. I don't even remember the therapist at the time. And they're like, you were in a narcissistic relationship. I'm like, I don't even know what that word is. I don't know what it is. All I know is I love this man because I wanted to be loved more than anything, and he loved me, I thought.
Is that how you figured it out, Vicki? Is that you actually you sat with a therapist and they go, oh, by the way, hey, you're a victim of narcissistic abuse?
They're exactly the one that said, you've been in a narcissistic relationship. I said, I don't know what that word is, but
Wow.
I loved him and I wanted to be in his life forever and ever. So after those 4 or 5 months passed, I was starting to get stronger, coming back to work. I mean, I was calling in sick at my own company. I'm like, I can't see clients. I can't function. So I realized like I got to pull myself up by my bootstraps and get my ass back to work because that will be my strength. And so I did, and I went back to work, and I was still damaged and hurt, but I just really thought my world was calling me to move back to Chicago where all my family and friends are. And so craziest thing, I went to I was part of the Boys and Girls Club, and I went to the Angel Stadium, and I was an ambassador at the time, 5 months later, and I'm at the table for auctions, and this fucking good-looking man shows up with the suit and tie, very stern back. He's like, have I met you before? I'm like, don't think so. And I was so closed off from meeting anybody else. And little by little, he's like, well, I'm part of the Anaheim City Council. I'm a retired cop. I'm a detective. I've been retired 26 years, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't really care. I have an insurance business, like, goodbye. He's like, can I give you my card? I'm like, for what? Like, I was so disconnected and so disinterested in any man because I thought they were going to lie to me. And it ended up going to lunch with him a week later, ended up dating him for 4 years. He was a narcissist.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
And Steve Lodge. And he led me on a rabbit hole, so perfect, like brought my grandsons police cars for their toys, gave my kids, I have 2 children, $5,000 each for Christmas, showered me with a Louis Vuitton suitcase for Christmas. We got engaged 3 years later. I bought the ring. And he's like, I can't afford what you want to wear. So if you want to buy it, go for it, but let's get engaged. I'm like, okay. And that was 2 years before we broke up. Little did I know, through all this, he was a narcissist. And I bought a house in Puerto Vallarta during COVID, and he was retired. So he would go down there and stay at my house. And then I would go every other week, like Thursday to Monday. And he was starting to go more often, not come home very much. And when he would go to my house, I had a Ring camera outside my hallway door. So it was a condo, 2 houses on each floor.
Yeah.
And he would put his hand over it and then do the combination and go in. I'm like, so I would call him and go, why do you have your hand over the camera? He's like, Vicki, I'm tired of you looking at me all the time. I'm like,
What?
I don't look at you, but I got an alert that there was something wrong with the camera on my phone. Then he would come in and he would take a red Solo cup and put it over my Nest camera inside. And then he would throw a party, but he forgot to remember, I can hear everything. So he was having women up there. He was having the guy across the hall. He started to say he lives in Puerto Vallarta, that it was his house. It was 100% my house. And then he got mad at me that I didn't put him on his owner at the gate for access. I said, you're a guest in my home.
Yes.
And no, you're not.
Yes.
Until you pay for half for it and all the dues and everything.
Yeah.
So long story short, he was bringing his bimbo girlfriend to my condo complex. He rented a 1-bedroom in the next tower, literally right across from my house. And I could sit on my balcony. I could see them out there drinking wine and having their hors d'oeuvres. And I was spiraled down. So I got an attorney out in Mexico, and I was able to get a restraining order and get him locked out of because I said, I'm fearing for my life. He's a cop. I don't know if he's got guns. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah. I'm here by myself watching him and his bimbo. And that was so I was his sixth engagement. She is his fourth wife. So they ended up meeting at a restaurant here in Mission Viejo. She's 35, he's 66. And they ended up getting married in Puerto Vallarta, right near my condo, at one of the restaurants my dad built. So spiraled down again, and it's been tough. Like, I don't trust. And so, when I think about like trust is earned, you always say trust is earned. I never knew that he was a narcissist. And I thought, how can I'm really close with his mom. His 4 kids love me. They haven't talked to their dad in 3 years. So he has a really great family. And I held every holiday, every 4th of July, every Memorial Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. I mean, I held everything at my big house. And I just thought, I hit the jackpot. This guy is everything I wanted. My family's in Illinois. His is here. My kids loved him. And until that happened.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say, it sounds like you've been through a lot. I follow a little bit of your story, obviously on the show. It sounds like you've been through a lot. And I don't think that this seems like it's the first time that you're able to tell your story, right? Without any edits and without anybody sort of, making you look like you were the one that, was backing this guy that was faking cancer. I mean, that's such a huge thing. So
I sat a long time with Bravo on it, and they choose what they did. They actually flew Brooks out to New York, and he did a one-on-one with Andy Cohen, and Brooks was like, Vicki was not in on anything. I had cancer. I'm not going to show my real records. He was adamant that he still had cancer. When he left my home, just so you know, both of them are married quickly. Like, they got married quickly. Mm-hmm. And I, like, what woman would ever want to marry him knowing what the story, I mean, it was a public on the front page of page 6, every newspaper,
yes.
Brooks Harris faked cancer. But they married him, and he probably had a story. Well, it was for the show, and we created this reality. It was real. It was raw. It was horrible. So he can twist it however he wants, but that's how it happened.
Yeah. You're the first person I've talked to that has the same story. I actually had skin cancer on my back, and I went home and told my ex. I said, by the way, I've got skin cancer, and she goes, "Oh, I had that." I said, "No, you didn't. You had a mole removed, and it was not cancerous. At least that's what you told me." She goes, "Oh, no. The doctor made a mistake, and I'm going to call him and tell him that he made a mistake, and I really had cancer."
Right. And I don't know, I mean, our listeners obviously know this, but John was in a 28-year marriage.
27. It only felt like 90 years.
A 27-year marriage. It took him 2 years to get out because he wanted his children to be grown and go to college. So he understands narcissism, and now he coaches other men and actually women too. And then for me, I've been doing family law for 22 years. I was in a narcissistic marriage for 7 of those years. So Vicki, if you can imagine, I was helping clients with their divorces, and yet I was stuck in a narcissistic, actually he was a malignant narcissist. And people say, you should have seen that coming. Like, how could I have seen that coming, right? It's like they do the love bombing. They do everything in the beginning that it's like your dream guy, like you're saying, right, about Brooks, like your dream guy. And then all of a sudden they flip the switch. And so now that's why I care deeply for my clients. I represent the innocent spouses, I like to say. And not every spouse is innocent, but at least they don't know about the narcissism, right? I feel like it takes 2 people in a marriage, but in a narcissistic relationship, it only takes 1 to really screw it up because they're mentally ill. So this is why I'm so passionate about who I represent and really represent the underdog.
There's no sign on them saying, I'm a narcissist. And oh, by the way,
No.
I'm going to manipulate you and I'm going to make you feel less than, and I'm going to make you want me so bad that you'll never leave me. Like, I really feel like I wanted both of those men so bad that I would never leave them. Like, I thought, okay, I got more money than them. I got the strength and the power. And why would they ever leave me? Why would they ever hurt me? So it was the strength that I felt that nobody's going to hurt me or they're not going to leave me, because why would they? Where were they going to go? You know?
Right.
Yeah. Was there a time, I know that you've encountered two so far, as you've done some of your therapy and kind of worked on yourself, and I know you have. Was there a point in time have you identified that there were people in your family that kind of predisposed you to some of this? Because I know for me, I found kind of significant tendencies this way in my own family. And it's not a rule, but sometimes it happens as you do your self-discovery.
No, my family's pretty perfect. I mean, I have to say
That's
that
awesome.
we're incredible. And I just, I wanted that love, I wanted that love. And I would do whatever I could just to get it. And I think my daddy was an incredible role model father. I taught everything business-wise from him. He died early, Alzheimer's onset at 59. So I lost him early. But my parents were married, 50, 60 years. And
Awesome.
I just wanted that love. I wanted, my family is all still married. Nobody gets divorced. And coming to California, I'm like, shit, I'm one of those statistics out here. 1 out of every 2 are getting divorced or more. I think if I had still lived in Chicago, and I know this to be true, I'd still be married to Don. Don was a great man. We got distant, marriages do, and I met Brooks at an insurance conference, and he was love bombing me. I mean, just an incredible, chemistry I had with him, and I didn't have it with Don anymore. So I fell prey to that.
Yeah.
I often talk about, like, on my social media, about being in LA, having been almost born in LA. I came here when I was 3 from Iran. I feel like having the spotlight on you is a blessing and a curse. I know you had your company way before Bravo came along, but it was actually a blessing for you because you got more exposure that maybe you wouldn't have had. But then it was also a curse because didn't in one of your interviews recently you say, look, if the Bravo cameras weren't on, I think I'd still be married to Don.
I know I would be. I know I would be. And he was a good man. I lost a good man searching for something that I could have probably gotten with him. But I just, I was traveling and he would never call me where I was. We were just growing apart. And then I fell into this love bombing is exactly the right word, narcissistic chaos. It was chaos all the time. If we would go out, I'd be like, Brooks, you're on drink number 3, drink number 4, you get to be an asshole. And he's like, I'm good. I'm becoming an asshole because you're pressuring me not to drink. I'm like, no, opposite, and then I would start saying, well, maybe if I don't say anything, he won't become an asshole. And then he would just get drunk and become an asshole anyway. So it was like, I never knew what day it was going to be that he would overdrink and then start yelling at me about what I did wrong that day.
Yeah.
That's a constant.
That makes for a ridiculously chaotic home.
Yeah.
And a war zone actually more often than a place of peace than it should be.
Do you feel like, because I know I struggle with this, when you're a successful woman, as you are, I mean, anybody can say that about you, right? Do you feel like you were trying to help these men come up to your level, as opposed to what we really should be doing is what I have now, thankfully, with my husband, is we're at the same level, or he's like a little bit above, in the sense that, like, this is what I hear lately, is that, like, don't make a guy come to your level, meet him where he's at. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like, at least from hearing what you're saying with Brooks and Steve, you were trying to bring them up to your level. Although Steve had, obviously he was career-minded and he had his own career, but I know he ran for office and nobody knew him, right?
Yeah, he wanted to be governor of California. I'm like, what political experience do you have? Well, I was a cop. I ran this and this and this. I'm like, all this non-for-profit stuff. I go, you're kidding me. He goes, but with your followers, even if I get just 10% of them, Vicki, I will win the governor of California. So I was like, okay, I'm 100% behind it. I was funding it and supporting him, and he was having an affair with this 35-year-old the whole time.
You can't make this up. You really can't make this up.
Can't.
Yeah, he met her at a bar. She's a school teacher, and she sat there and said, "Oh, you're famous." And, you know, he goes, "Well, Vicki and I aren't together anymore." The bartender who became a friend of mine, she's like, "They met here." I'm like, "Who met here?" This is a little Italian place in Mission Viejo. I'm like, "What are you talking about, Tina?" She's like, "Yeah, they met here." And she was eyeing him for weeks, because Steve would always go there from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock because he was bored. And he would have his 2 or 3 glasses of wine, call me and say, "What time are you leaving the office?" I'm like, "I don't know, I should be home by 6:30. I'm making dinner tonight." He's like, no, I'm going to pick it up from this restaurant. I'm already here. I'm like, every day you're there drinking? Like, that's so ugly. It's so unattractive. But he was bored. And so he didn't win the governor. And then she recognized him from my TV show and felt like he was what she wanted. And so she lived in an apartment right behind. And then he would pull up to my $3 million house and have his, you know, beautiful life with me, but screwing her in an apartment around the corner in a parking lot. So I don't know.
You know,
It was, I have to say one more thing before I forget.
Sure.
What you said was exactly true. So let's just say I'm here and Stephen Brooks were here. Okay. I felt, because I never looked for money because I could support myself. I never thought money was but it is for men, it is their ego, it's their strength, right? So I can't control what you make for a living. I'm just going to do what I need to do, support myself and my 3 houses and my kids and my grandkids. I'm going to do what I have to do. Whatever you want to do, go do. But they both wanted to cling on to me and, well, can we do appearances together? Can we do a talk show together? I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, this isn't about you. You go find you, and then I'm good with me. So that's exactly true, that I felt they would never leave me, because where would they go, right? So he married somebody, I mean, he gets his $6,000 a month pension, and she was a school teacher. But what the narcissists do, I don't know if you know, but they make sure that your whole center of your universe has no friends, no family, no anything. And they hang you. So she quit her job as a school teacher in Mission Viejo, and they went on a car ride for a year and ended up in the Ozarks or something. So she's now no longer has her friends, doesn't have her family, doesn't have her life. She was never married before. So now she's got Steve. That's it. She's got Steve.
Yeah, they isolate. They're very good at isolating. I remember with my ex-husband, we lived in the Valley at the time, and my father, who was much older, and he passed away 13 years ago, but I was like, I just want to go stop by my father's house. Like, I just want to go see my mom and dad. And, you know, being Persian, I know, you know, a bunch of Persians in Orange County, like, we're so family orientated. And he was like, absolutely not. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it didn't even make sense. It was like, I just want to stop by for 5 minutes. And I'll never forget this, Vicki. Like, when my dad was, eventually he was, you know, in the hospital when he was on his deathbed. And I remember just begging my ex-husband, I will give you a Rolex watch. Like, I will give you, like, literally, like, a Ferrari. I will give you anything you want. Just come and see my dad. And he did, and he finally did. And then my dad actually, like, asked him to pray for him. And I was like, Dad, you're like asking the devil to pray for you, but go ahead. And so, but that was the last time that my dad passed away. And it's like, I'll never forgive someone for that, right? Like, it's just like, it was such a traumatic thing.
Yeah.
And so we totally get it. We totally get what you've been through. Thank you so much for just coming on. I know you're super busy, but thank you so much. The reason why we started this podcast was that we wanted to help the community understand what narcissism is. It's not just everybody says, like, my ex is a narcissist. Like, no, this is a mental condition, and you need to run away from these people. Like, the first sign of somebody is using you for whatever, for you, like airtime, Bravo, your money, your houses, you got to leave. Like, this is a full stop. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. And
so I have a question on that, because that makes sense. But then I also say there's a lot of people that I've met at my age group, I'm 62, that have been married, have been divorced, have lost businesses, have struggled financially. And that's what justified me being with both Brooks and Steve, is because I didn't care if they were uber wealthy. I know a lot of the women in Newport say, I would never marry anybody with less than $5 million net worth. I don't care. I mean, I got my houses, I got my life, I have my fancy car, but I get mentally why you don't want to go below you, because then you feel like you've got power over them. I felt like I had power over them and they would never leave me. But I also don't want to say, okay, what's your net worth?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the right thing to do is anymore, because people have financial struggles around here and they live beyond their means. And
right. Well, this
there are people, I think, Vicki, that narcissists are users, first and foremost, and they don't even understand love. So the hard part of it, being in the position you're in, like with being a person of means like that, is it's easy for them to think, oh, okay, well, she'll just take care of it. So users are going to be drawn to that, just like they're drawn to people, who are just very, very empathetic and who put up with this stuff and are long suffering. And the saddest part of this is that, while they're using you and pretending up front, is that your love is real.
mm-hmm.
And you wind up on the other side of this, just completely devastated. I know you had trouble working. I was ready to put a gun to my head, and it puts you in this horrible scenario, even where you have trouble working and focusing and those kinds of things. And I'm so glad you reached out for help. Was there something that you can think of? Like, is there a good piece of advice that you got that kind of helped you through this recovery process that you might share with us? Something that you thought, man, this is powerful in me getting through this.
So I prayed a lot. But one of the biggest things that I was able to do is journal. So I have a journal next to my bed, and I journaled. And when I look back on some of those feelings and notes, and if I didn't have my journal with me, I would go into my mobile notes on my phone, and I would just talk into it, say, this is how I'm feeling today. This is why I'm feeling this way. And looking back on some of that stuff, it was like, I'm surprised I survived it, because I really didn't care about living anymore. I really didn't. And I thought, if this happened to me twice, it's going to happen to me again, because I'm empathetic, I'm kind and loving and giving. And why would somebody hurt me? Well, two men that I gave 10 years of my life to hurt me deeply. And so I thought, I can't get those 10 years back. I don't want to do another 10 years, So I'm dating somebody now for 3 years, really great guy. It's actually Olivia's father that helped me get this all booked. But I'm cautiously looking at everything. It's still 3 years, and I'm like, how do I know that this is right?
I would say too, Vicki, like, boundary work is really important. Like, just to establish very healthy boundaries for yourself, and obviously for our listeners, like, okay, if a guy does or a girl does XYZ, that's it, right? Like, if I have to help you, of course we are called to be helpmates, right? We know that biblically. John and I are born again believers, so we're called to be helpmates, but we're not called to do all the work on our own, And so as women, we have to recognize that I'm here to be your helpmate. I'm not here to do it all on your own. And like you said with Brooks, like, I flew him out here, I did this, I took him shopping, I did all. I mean, I know how. I know how all those things cost. I remember one time, like, he got new teeth or something on the show, and everyone was like,
I'm like, you got shitty teeth. Got new teeth. Got him a new car. He's got to fit into Orange County.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to move to Mississippi. So I'm like, this is a big deal. Like, you got to fit in if you want to be with me.
Yes.
Yeah. So. One of the things I love about what you're doing right now, and I think is nothing but positive for yourself, is you're taking time. Mm-hmm. As I look back on my own journey with my ex, and 27 years, like I said, felt no longer than 90. One of the things I surfaced in myself was I didn't take the kind of time I needed to really I didn't take the time I needed to really know her. And I think you need to see somebody in good times. You need to see somebody in bad times. You need to see them under stress. You need to see them when things are wonderful. You need to see them through, to see how they respond. And are they drawing close to you, or are they pushing away? Are they using you, or are they loving you? And these things are real qualitative differences that I think over time, you really discover, and that's 3 years is a long time, and I still understand your hesitance. I haven't dated yet, really, and I don't know if I will. It's hard to go put yourself in that position again, because you've opened yourself up and your love is genuine, and to go through that again is just excruciating.
Right. And then also she has children too. I know they're adults, but
Yep.
to bring them back into your children's, like you said, one of your exes, Steve, was like buying them things and giving them money, and these are like stepchildren, right? I know you didn't marry him, thank God, but so I'm sure you're very cautious, but it sounds like you're on the path of recovery, and that's why we call it Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Channel, because I've been, I'm married now 3 years. It took me 8 years, Vicki. So I was married for 7, took me 8 years to be single. And listen, that wasn't easy because I like to be married. And I know you've said that before. Like, you're like, I'm a marriage material person, And so
I don't date, and I date to mate. That's
yes,
it.
that date to mate. That's hey, listen, if you get nothing else from this podcast today, date to mate is the word from the Lord. Yeah. Okay. And so now I'm married, 3 years, but it doesn't mean that I'm still not triggered, right? So I get triggered sometimes and I'm like, okay, I need to take a deep breath. This is from my past. So, just constantly going to counseling. You said journaling. I think that's wisdom.
That was really helpful for me as well. I took to journaling, and
because our emotions change day by day. There's some days I feel super strong, like I got this, and then there's other times where I get a red flag and I go, shit, am I falling back into this acceptance? Because there's some things I will not accept. I will not accept over drinking. I hate drinking. I hate drunks. I can't do it. I don't want to be around it. And when I see that happening, it was with Brooks, it was with Steve, and my new relationship, not so much. But if I see an over drinker, that's a trigger for me going, you aren't in control. That's a loser. Like I get all these things go into my brain, and it's a big red flag.
And that's a boundary, that's like, this is my healthy boundary. I don't have 100, but I have like 5 deal breakers. And so I agree with you. I think drinking brings out the worst. It makes people cheat sometimes. They don't even want to cheat. And we know, like, you're in Newport, right? I'm in Newport. It's like, that's just the way of life, by the way, John. I know John's in Atlanta. So that's just a way of life.
Oh, they drink here too.
I don't put myself in that situation. I don't go out to the Javier's and to the math. I don't go out unless it's with Michael or, 2 or 4 girlfriends. And I don't accept drinks from other men. Oh, aren't you on the Housewives of Orange County? Like, yeah, I used to be next. Like, I don't open that door. That door is always closed with a padlock on it. And I think been out with a lot of married women, single women, that door is always open. Like, oh, he looks like he might have money. Look at his shoes. Look at his belt. Like, who cares about the money? What is he like as a person?
Yes.
So because they don't have a career, they don't have the strength to support themselves, many of them, that they're looking for the next.
Oh, yeah. They're always looking up for the next come up. And, unfortunately, I represent some people like that in Orange County. But they're always looking for the next come up. And, they're like, you can see them, right, Vicki? They're like sitting at dinner with their significant other spouse and they're looking around. Like when I'm at a place with my husband, I'm not looking around. I have the prize. I'm with the actual prize. And so I think you've done a lot of great work. Thank you so much for being here.
So good to meet you.
Is there anything else that you want, like your parting bits of knowledge that you want people to know before we end today?
Go slow. I think that's the biggest thing. And when you see the red flags, get in therapy. Is it a red flag or is it an orange flag or a yellow flag? Like, not everything has to be a red flag. So some things we have to show grace and say, okay, you're doing this and you're not understanding that it's not acceptable to me. And if there's no change, then get out. I mean, there's other opportunities out there. I don't enjoy being alone. I've always, had a relationship. So if this relationship doesn't work for whatever horrible reason, I would go back to Illinois. Nobody's divorced in Illinois. They're all super happy. The culture here is very dysfunctional, I think. That's why my daughter moved. She said, Mom, if I stay in California, I'm going to be one of the victims of my husband going out or lying or whatever. It's not all true, but there is a pattern here that I don't want to get sucked into. So
Yep.
everybody is prettier than the next, literally. I mean, everybody is prettier than the next, and you feel a ton of competition, and it's just, it's just hard.
Actually, John might not know this. The divorce rate in LA is 62%. The divorce rate in Newport Beach is 72% for your first marriage. So,
Wow.
and then it goes up your second marriage, and then your third marriage is like you will be divorced. So it's like, no,
Okay,
it's
well,
like
that's me.
I think
Illinois, here I come.
it's like 85%. I'm telling you this as a divorce attorney. So it's just bad. She's absolutely right. And my husband's actually his parents are from Chicago, and then they migrated to Michigan. So he's got very good, old school values. And, it sounds like the person you're with now is the same and is not looking anything, just wants to partner with what you're doing.
So I did a list. So those of you listeners, I did a list of what I will not compromise on. And
Awesome.
It was 18 things in my mobile notes. So my friend Kelly Dodd set us up and we went to dinner. And I said, oh, by the way, he said, can I have your number? I said, here's 18 things that I will not compromise on. And he's like, we just met. I go, I don't care. You're not getting my number. Like, non-smoker, no drugs, got to be an entrepreneur, got to not be from California. And for me, it was my faith. You got to be a believer in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
So I went through even political, I went through everything. Got to be 6 feet or taller, got to wear cowboy boots at times. I love a country guy. And I looked down, he's wearing cowboy boots. I'm like, oh, Jesus. So it was a cycle of things I will not compromise on. And you got your money, I got mine. We're never going to cross it over. So it was nice because I just laid it out. I didn't have to. Yeah. I didn't have to wait 5 months and say, oh, by the way, these are my 18 things. Right. So those listeners that are listening, set your rules for yourself. And I think that's what really helped me, is to just say, this is non-negotiable for me. You got to have your own money. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's 500,000 or $1 million or 10 million. I don't care. You got to have your own money. You got to be an entrepreneur. You can't be an 8-to-5er, because I'm out on the road a lot. I'm traveling. I can't have somebody say, oh, I can't go on that trip with you because I only got 2 weeks vacation pay. Screw that, Yeah.
No. And again, that's your boundary. And I love that idea of a list. I actually had a list too. And when I showed my mom the list, this is before I was married, obviously, she was like, how are you going to find this person? She's like, I said, Mom, I'm not compromising. Do you understand? And she literally was like, there is no way. If you ask my mom is in her 90s. I can't give her real age because she'll kill me. She literally goes, your husband, John, is every single one of these things. Okay. Like literally every single thing. So I think that that's a great suggestion.
Manifest it. You pray for it. You feel entitled to this. This is you can be your future, and you own it. Yes. I'm owning it. This is what I want. Not I'll stay at Coto.
And you don't settle for less.
Mm-mm.
Yep. Vicki, we're all entrepreneurs here too, and you're an entrepreneur. And you do insurance, and there are people who are local who are who are looking for some. How can they find you? Let's give you a little plug.
We're licensed in every state, so
okay.
We just go to cotoinsurance.com, COTO, and put in your information. We'll get back to you.
Fantastic.
And then you also have a podcast. So tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah. So we're about 6-7 months in now. It's called My Friend, My Soulmate, My Podcast. So there was an episode where I was yelling at Tamara. I said, you're supposed to be my friend. It was about Brooks, my soulmate, my sister. And we named the podcast after me yelling at her. And it's My Friend, My Soulmate, My Podcast.
That's awesome.
Now, and it's fun. I just taped a episode a couple days ago in Puerto Vallarta with my brother. It's just, for me, it's about showing my viewers and my fans my life now off the show. And it hurts sometimes to know that Bravo has taken another route and not included me. But I know that it's the right thing for me. I know God intervened and, basically said, if you want this relationship to flourish, if you want the relationship with your kids and your business, you can't be on a reality TV show expecting it to turn out good, because they just want the drama and the bullshit. So even though it hurts and I lost a big paycheck, I just look at it's just money. I always can make more money. Mm-hmm. But I've been a very good steward of money. So those of you that are listeners, just save more than you ever think you're going to ever need, because you never know when you're going to need it. So I I've just lived by that rule, and I've been able to take care of myself.
Awesome. Vicki Gunvalson here on the Narcissist Abuse Recovery Channel. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So good to connect.
Yeah.
We will. We
Okay.
will. Padideh, so good to see you as well. And we're out. Thank you so much for listening today.
Thank you for listening to the Narcissist Abuse Recovery Channel. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And be sure to follow us on Instagram with the handle narc.podcast. The guest views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are their own. The information presented is for general information purposes only and is not intended to be legal advice. The co-hosts are not licensed therapists. Seek professional help, as information is often state-specific.